Hi, and welcome back to the podcast. In today's episode, I'm talking with Tony Gilardi. Tony grew up in Ipswich and then joined the Royal Artillery in 1984, attending Junior Leaders Regiment at Barmote. He then served with various regiments until he left in 2008 as a WO2. Tony's story shows that there's ups and downs, but there can always be an happy ending. Tony, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you, Frankie. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, really good. Appreciate you doing this. It's great. And it's nice to see you after all these years as well.
Exactly. I reckon it must be over. I'm going to go for 15. I'm going to go for over 30 years.
Larkhill.
Bit less.
Yeah, be Larkhill, so it'll be 20, 21, nearly 22
Well,
years.
I've been out of the army 15, so 2000. Yeah, but maybe 20 years then.
Yeah. I think the last time I got into trouble was Larkhill, so it'll have been about then, yeah. Right, so if you could just tell us a bit about where you grew up and why you joined the army and when you joined the army.
Right. Well, like Frankie says, it's Anthony. Really, is my first name, but obviously most people call me Tony. Grew up in a place called Ipswich in East Anglia. Doing well at the moment in the championship. I'm half Italian, so when joining the army, I thought, is it a good thing or not? But my dad didn't really want me to go in the army, and nor did my mum. In fact, back in those days, so 1984, I joined. They bought a video recorder, a VHS video recorder, to stop me going in the army. Obviously, it didn't work. It was a new thing in our house to have VHS. Going down to Blockbusters to get your video out and all that sort of thing. And people would die today if they had to drop the Blockbusters videos off on a Sunday night because they've had them over the weekend. But it didn't stop me. Obviously, I was 16 and a half. Joined Junior Leaders Regiment, Royal Artillery in Barmote, which I think a signal regiment is there now. And they waved me off on the train goodbye. June the 14th, 15th in 1984, and made my way as a 16 and a half year old up to Barmote, joining the Royal Artillery. Ipswich. What is Ipswich like? Well, Ipswich is still a small town. There was quite a lot of people from my school, a Catholic school, that were joining the forces. And I can remember 4 or 5 people joining at the same time as me, and one other person that joined the Royal Marines, but I didn't find it out until 10 years after being in the army, which, obviously will come later in the podcast maybe. But out of those 5, 6 people that joined the forces, they all left within a year. But one chap that I did find out that joined with me, which wasn't until about 2 weeks after being in Barmote, was a gentleman called, and you might come across him, Frankie, is a gentleman called Jason Bannister.
Yeah.
And he had a brother called Paul, a brother called Paul Bannister. Yeah. So Paul's still down in Larkhill now. I never knew Paul joined the Royal Artillery. Paul's about 4 or 5 years older than me and Jay. But Jason left our school, went to another school in Ipswich, and then, would you believe it, when we joined the Royal Artillery, he was on the same train as me, and got off the train at the other end. Bloody hell, Jason, what are you doing here? So I joined the Royal Artillery. I said, well, so have I. So it was really weird to have a school friend, not in the same troop, but in the same recruiting year back in 1984.
I can imagine, yeah. So when you turned up at Barmote, what did you think of it? How did you find it? Because when I turned up there, it was a shock.
Yeah, it's definitely a shock. But I suppose, I'm only going to say, you can only look back at it now, that everybody was in the same boat, in the end of the day. And I still think at 16 and a half, you still had those blinkers on, that you were still being educated, still being schooled. And looking back at it now, I think they got it, obviously discipline was different then to what it is now with Harrogate and all the rest of it. But I think they got it right at the 16-year-olds in that. Everything was like it was a shock, what's all this bed block blark? And then you meet people. I mean, I think what shocked me most is, if I try to explain, so when I was back in Ipswich in the school, I was doing like all England cross countries. And I was coming about 10th, 15th and all the rest of it. when I joined this troop, Milne troop, you introduce yourselves, and they said, "Oh, I think I know you." And he goes, and I was thinking, "Well, do you?" He said, "Yeah." He says, "Do you do cross country?" I went, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I thought, I'm not going to say anything. I says, "Did you do it?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah." I said, "I'm the All England champion, #1." I went, "Right, okay." And he goes, "Did you do it?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I didn't get very far." I just didn't bother saying anything. I thought, "What have I joined?" And then someone else piped up, was #2, and that guy who was #2 ended up in 7 RHA. Guy called Taff Richards. I mean, I don't. He's out now, but and I'm all these people. I'm thinking, what have I really let myself in for? I'm thinking all these sportsmen are here. What type of troop am I in? But yeah, so that was more of a shocker of seeing the variety of people.
Yeah.
I think it's my first introduction to different people around England or UK. We had Welsh, Scottish, Manchester, Scousers, where come from a smoky little town of Ipswich. It's a country boy, country bumpkin farming town, and to see all these different people from around the world was not more of a shocker. Was more of a wow, type thing.
No,
I think
exactly,
that was
exactly.
more
Yeah.
than what more than what the military side of it was. It was more seeing, well, I never would have met these people and never would have met all these different people, in that year, especially as a 16-and-a-half-year-old.
Yeah. I mean, it was the first time I come from the northeast, and I'd never been out of the northeast ever. The furthest I'd ever been, I think, was Sutton Coldfield when I went and done my induction, and that was the furthest I'd ever been, especially on my own. And to turn up at Bramcote, and I was in a room all of a sudden with all these other 16-year-olds, and to be honest, I couldn't understand half of them, and they couldn't understand me. And luckily,
Exactly.
Avida's
Yeah,
Aim Pet was on the telly, so there was me and another lad from the northeast. We were kind of like,
yeah,
oh, yeah, yeah, the heroes. He got cold Oz, and I think they were going to
yeah,
start to call me Neville, but that didn't. I soon put a stop to that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think my first, I mean, going for nicknames, I think my first nickname from, I don't know, everybody's just called by their surname in training for us. There wasn't that many nicknames. They just kept them to surnames. And even when you were in the same group, there wasn't really many nicknames within the troop. Everybody kept sort of like surnames. Really, it was
Yeah.
easier, type thing. Until you obviously got to your regiment, and obviously you got called every name under the sun, type thing. Well, I had a few in a regiment, but I'm sure we'll come on to that. So basic training, loved the fitness, loved all that, type thing, and we all just got on with it. So culture shock, wouldn't say as much of a culture shock because it was that educational still, but it was learning a lot of new things,
Yeah.
type thing. So not once through the whole year of training did I want to leave.
I mean, we had a couple of guys who wanted. There was one wanted to leave, and one wanted to go at the catering corps for some reason. But as I've talked to other people about stuff like this while doing this, we didn't lose very many out of our intake that I know of. Some of the other troops did, and I went a year after you, joined
Yeah.
85. But I think we only lost two or three, really. I think one of them was injury, and the others wanted to be in different regiments.
Well, you done really well because our troop, I reckon our troop went down. Well, you had 16 in all, 4 rooms, didn't you? 16, so it's 30, yeah, 32. Must have been 64 of us. I reckon we went down to at least, yeah, it must have gone down to 40 at least.
That's a big drop, like, but it is. That's what happens.
Yeah.
So after juniors, you went to, was it 47 straight away?
Well, yeah, there's the thing. So 4-5 regiment would have been my local regiment, and I chose 4-5. And 4-7 was my second one. I don't know why 4-7 was my second one, but I think there wasn't a 4-6 regiment, so I just took the next one of 4-7. Lots of people were joining paras and the commandos and all that sort of thing, and you could do extra training for it if you wanted to. And I'm thinking, if I want to do that later on, and you see all the videos and everything else, then I'll try for it later on. I just wanted to get out really, and so I joined 4-7, which is Leicestershire. Well, it was then Leicestershire and Derbyshire Gunners.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I had nothing to do with Leicestershire, nothing to do with Derbyshire whatsoever, and ended up at 4-7 in Germany, and I think done the year's training, and off I went. To be honest, I don't even know any instructors that were at the school because I didn't do gunnery at Bramcote. I'd done signals, I wasn't doing the gunnery training. I was doing radios or whatever, or signal training. So I never met the infamous Trevor Chaplin or Charlie Chaplin. Was there as a gunnery instructor.
Yeah, I remember.
And then when I got to the regiment, I got put on his gun, type thing, and he went mad when he found out I didn't have basic guns. That was my first clip round the old head with what they used to call the number 9 mic or the number 6 mic. Was it the number 6 or number 9? What the guns
Yeah.
had? Big, massive solid bit of metal type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the old Larkspur handset. Yeah.
I think I've still got a couple of dents and legions at the back of my head somewhere.
Yeah, I think I might have a few off Archie. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, I think going back to the regiment in Germany was the biggest. That was the biggest culture shock. And my first day, I remember getting off the plane at Gütersloh, picked up. I thought, this is nice. Taken to the regiment, and I remember standing outside 3 batteries, 3 battery at Mansa Barracks in Gütersloh, and I just heard shouting and bawling, effing and swearing, and all the rest of it, and loads of smoke coming out of these windows, and then these windows burst open, with this bloke coughing and splurting, just saying, "Are we allowed to swear on this?"
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
So I'm gonna effing kill you type thing. Whatever his name, I can't think of the names. And this bloke come running out, and little did I realise, like a couple of weeks later, that was the BSM that they'd thrown a smoke grenade in the BSM's office, and it was a Scottish bloke, and he went down for it, type thing, as in a bit of jail time and all the rest of it, down guard room and all the rest of it. And I thought, well, is this the army, type thing? I thought, wow, this is hilarious. And got shoved in my room and all the rest of it. Everybody was away in Ireland that time. The battery was away in Ireland in a Belfast tour, so I didn't really get to see many people until they came back. Yeah, so I was shoved in a room, and so I was in a room on my own, quite a big room. I thought, this is nice, bit like a travel lodge type thing, Showers down the road, got a big massive room to myself, and and just started, and off we went, type thing. And everybody was looking at me boots. I didn't know why. And they said, "Where'd you get those boots from?" I remember the QM, the BQMS. It wasn't a BQMS because I don't remember his name. The Johnny Whitehead, like the tech sergeant or whatever type thing.
Yeah.
Where'd you get those boots from? And I said, "Well, they're the boots I've been issued." He goes, "Well, we haven't got them." And everybody in the regiment was still in puttees and the big boots. And we were in 1984 in Bramcott, and we had BCH. We were the first ones in 84 to get boots combat high.
God, it was that late. I didn't realise.
Yeah. In Bramcott, we were the first ones to get boots combat high. Yeah, or that version of BCH, And when I went over there, they had hardly anything. Yeah.
Oh, and it was still
and then eventually
woolly shirt and all that.
Yeah, the KF shirt. Yeah. There's about 2 after that. We got the normal nylon shirts and all the rest of it type thing. Yeah. But that was my first day in the regiment, seeing the BSM choking on a gas or smoke canister. I think it was just not CS or anything, but just like a smoke grenade, And what was the guy that has passed now? Because I've seen him on the 3 battery website. Jock, it'll come to me in a minute. Memory 55 gone. Yeah, but that was a culture shock. And then going back to the Ipswich theme again, as I was sort myself out, through the first couple of weeks, a guy called Alan Robinson came up to me, and he says, "Are you from Ipswich?" I went, "Yeah." I thought, "Why is he asking me that?" He says, "I live," and he told me where he lived. I said, "Well, that's just round the corner from me." And he goes, "Oh, you're joking." Anyway, he was, well, I'm going to say it, doesn't matter. Big, tall, black guy. Yeah.
Well,
very athletic man.
We called him Black Robbo.
You did. You called him, well, no, yeah, which you could in those days. You could say what you liked and no problems at all. If you'd done it now, no chance. But I remember him dragging me to the cookhouse for something to eat, and he sat me down with all the other black people. Yeah. So I had a guy called Grapes. Imagine calling someone Grapes today.
Yeah.
He was massive. He had Grapes. He had Phil Burt, the chef. I can't remember the chef's name.
D'Souza. Tony D'Souza.
He got killed in a drug incident in New York.
D'Souza.
D'Souza, yeah. So he was there. Grapes, Phil Burt, Alan Robinson, Spook,
Yeah.
3 batteries.
Wow,
Spook.
I
Yeah,
forgot all
yeah,
about
Spook.
him.
And one other. Yeah, one other. And I thought, I'm sat here with all these black people, very senior people, do you know what I mean, type thing. And they introduced me as Tony, is from Ipswich, blah, 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 blah. And obviously, as you go through, you learn about things. And these were the baddest people in the regiment, with bloody drugs and
Yeah,
everything, do you know what I mean, type
they
thing.
were the mafia. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, I thought I need to get out of here and all the rest of it type thing. But yeah, yeah. I don't think we should talk about that a little bit too much. Might get someone in too much trouble. It was found out. But I think Alan's still in. I think Alan Robinson's still in Germany, type thing. But I remember Robbo burst into my room once with when Tufik was there. Obviously, I haven't seen him for a long time. That's another story. But Alan Robinson burst into my room and then burst back out again. So what was all that about? And then 3 hours later, all the MPs arrived with sniffer dogs and all the rest of it. Yeah. And I thought, oh, has he dumped something in my room? I'm going to be done here. Anyway, 2 hours later, they all went. And basically, he'd put a load of whatever under the rubber turntable of my stereo. And he came back in and says, can I have it back? I went, yeah.
I remember him coming in my room when I moved into the same flat where you were flat NCO, and he was opposite me.
Yeah.
Me and Tony Jones. He came into ours and said, "If any dogs come in or anyone's coming in, sprinkle this on the floor." And I was like, "What the hell's going on?" I shit myself, and it was pepper.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
right, if
Yeah.
whatever he says, I'll do whatever he says. I mean, it was so green, I didn't know what the hell was going on.
But I mean, he was brilliant at his job.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the what do you call it? It was the A Rock, when he was a what do you call it, the BRO type thing, ARO. He was amazing. He was amazing at his job. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what he's doing. I think he's still in Germany. But I see his sister now and again when we go back to Ipswich. But yeah, Bernadette. But that's as much as I can see with him. But yeah, I think 4-7 was good. It was a good introduction. All good. I mean, they're all good lads in whatever regiment you go to, but
Yeah.
they've all got their own stigmas, their own things, and all the rest of it. I mean, 3 battery, as you know, I know it's talking a bit personal because obviously we know each other and things like that, so it'll be different to other podcasts. But your Ian Browns, your Gary Cowans, your Docker Dixons, that sort of thing. I don't know, someone cooking egg, or it was Docker cooking egg banjos on what we used to call the RBG, which is I've got to get that right, in an abbot. The rotating ball joint, bloody that's testing my memory,
Yeah.
of the turret that goes round. And it's the first time I've had a curried egg with pink oil. It was cooked in OMD 13, OM13, whatever it was. And I just saw this handprint come up on my first exercise. Yeah, I get that down, yeah. And but to have characters, well, not character, they are characters, but I suppose looking back at it, I call them mentors.
Yeah, they were. They really were. It's them names you just mentioned there. Yeah.
Yeah, life skills. People like Charlie Chaplin, pain in the ass, massive number one, could go to him for anything, but he'd also go and sort it out yourself, son. Do you know what I mean? Type thing. People like Docker Dixon, Ian Brown, Gary Cowan, Sean Stevenson. Sean Stevenson taught me to drive. What's his name from the MT? He's like Julian Gregory.
Yeah.
You know, to all these sort of people, they're all sort of like, they were not your friends back in the day because you were just not of that era. But once you got there, they were mentors. They're literally just life mentors. Obviously teaching in the army with army skills and education, but also, yeah, all up here, all mentors. And there's lots of times I've used the skills that have not that have been taught for me, but that I've learned from them just by watching them or listening to them.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And there'll be hundreds of people in the army that have done that, and different regiments. But they were the first sort of like 3 or 4 mentors, really. Yeah. Oh, Bob Newsom. Wow, was I scared of Bob Newsom? Jeez, that angry. I'm still scared of him now on Facebook. What an angry man.
Oh God. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, very fair.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he scared me. The other one that that always used to make me like look twice, and I don't know what's coming, was Funky Fenton.
Yeah. 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 Oh, he was a BQMS, wasn't he? BQMS.
He was TSM when I got the battery, because I come obviously a year after you, and I spent about 8 or 9 months in HQ battery before I got sacked and sent to the guns.
Yeah, he was he was a
boxing,
boxer, wasn't he?
yeah.
He used to do boxing, yeah. And the story I've got of him in my head that all reminds me was we were in Hona, and he bit the head of a frog or head of a goldfish off in front of everybody.
Yeah.
We all stood in line. We could see this frog jumping about, and he picked it up. He said, "Stop looking at the frog," and just bit the head frog off and chucked it away. Disgusting. Disgusting. Yeah.
But I mean, they were from a different army, even what we were used to, type of thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, the things you could get away with, not as soldiers, but the things the regiment, the army could get away with was, I mean, I had no tracks license whatsoever, and what was it called? Active Edge.
Yeah.
Active Edge got called, and everybody was at a Christy Burr concert. When I was there, everybody was at a Christy Burr concert, officers, all sorts of people, and Active Edge got called. You all knew about it, and I remember driving a 432 that I've been inside about 4 times. I just followed the person in front, and this turns you left, this takes you right. That's the brake, that's the accelerator. You don't need to know anything else. Keep your lights on all the time. Driving it out to the Active Edge area, jumping in a truck and coming all the way back again to go and get the next one out. It is absolutely ridiculous. Oh, imagine if you'd done that today with no tracks like no chance. No chance. Yeah.
I mean, I was driving on exercise, and again, I didn't have a license. I suppose exercise a bit different. The first time I drove an Abbott was in Canada, and it was out. No, I think it was Docker. It's just like, right, you're driving that, and I was like, huh, what? And exactly the same thing. Pull up the stop, left, right, left. Press that pedal, go forward, and yeah, and I loved it. It was brilliant.
You talk about Canada. Even to this day, I don't think. Well, I never did. I never got my head round Canada. You got to Canada when it was dark o'clock. You got up. You come out of your whatever your sheds were, going to get something to eat. Within 2 days, you were on your vehicles and you're out to this wasteland. And apparently, we were training as a battle group. Well, you never saw any battle group.
No.
You just saw inside the gun. And then you get, I mean, people on maybe the OPs and that sort of thing might have seen it, but gunnery wise, you just done as you're told and fired. Then you went back into camp after 6 weeks, got rid of your gun, went away for 4 days somewhere, and back on a plane. So for a young soldier, 18, 19, they've not got a clue what's going on. You've just been shoved to Canada to go and exercise. When they say they're doing battle group, you don't see any of it. And I think that was, I've done Canada 4 times at different ranks, and it was only till I got staff sergeant as was I sergeant or staff sergeant as TSM, or section commander, that I actually knew, because you can see everything that's going on. But when you're stuck inside a vehicle, you've not got a clue.
No.
Yeah, not got a clue. And obviously Canada's changed a lot now. I mean, everybody just goes to sleep at night and then gets up the next day, of a maintenance day every 3 or 4 days, I think, when we were there.
Yeah.
So it's really changed. But
I mean,
I think I've done.
I was the same. I think exactly the same. My first Canada was with 3 battery, and I mean, I ended up losing my R&R and stuff like that. That's another story.
Yeah.
I didn't see the bigger picture until I went out years later with D battery 3 out of chair, and I was on the FPC, so I was at battle group headquarters. And,
You see a lot of it, don't you?
You see the whole thing, and that was the first time I'd ever seen like a battle group, like in such, exactly. And it was wow. And you're right, you're on the guns at the gun end. You don't appreciate the bigger picture half the time.
Exactly, yeah. I enjoyed Canada. My first R&R was I was only sort of like 17 maybe, and any volunteers to go ranching? Oh, that sounds good. Was it bollocks? Flipping putting up fence posts and flipping barbed wire in the middle of flipping nowhere in some ranch in Meadow. It's flipping 4 days. My first R&R that was. Never again will I volunteer for that. Somebody saying you get right horses, you're going to learn how to do this. Oh, I've never done that before. What a load of rubbish. So next time I went to snow and ice climbing in Banff. Amazing. Yeah.
So after Gutterslow, we moved to Thorney Island, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I was a bit So when we came back from Canada the first time, I volunteered for Belize. Me and Neil Entwistle, who's just come back on the scene in the last year. Everybody thought was just
Yeah.
just not interested. But basically, he's back on the scene, runs vape shops, I think. Me and him went to Belize. I thought, yeah, I'm getting out of here. So uh, I'd done my Lance Bomber leadership course, and no, uh, had I done it? Yeah, I'd done my Lance Bomber leadership course, and off I went and done Belize for 6 months, and that was amazing. Jungle, people don't get to see that or do that very often. Jungle training. Had to go back onto the signals on the radios and all the rest of it. And the only sort of like signal there on HF, so it was going on all the patrols. Really, really enjoyed Belize. From the R&R, everything. It was excellent. And I remember getting off the helicopter on one of the patrols, and somebody come running to me with a stripe and said, "You've just been promoted to Lance Bombardier."
That's a nice way of getting it.
Yeah, nice way to do it. Yeah, it was excellent. Nice way to do it. So I came straight from Canada. I had 2 or 3 weeks in Germany again, and then flew straight back out to Belize with four. This is the connection. You'll find a connection later, actually, with 4-5 Regiment, 5-2 Battery, which would have been the regiment. Which would have been the regiment. Sorry, if I just thrown a charger at me. Which would have been the regiment I should have joined in the first place.
Right. Okay. In fact, we did an island tour, didn't we?
That was the maze, wasn't it? Yeah, that was a bit of a funny, not a really good introduction to Ireland, I don't think.
No.
It's not your fail first. It's not your cam lock or anything. Down South Armagh or anything like that. Yeah, I mean that was what's his name, the BC, wasn't it? Nigel Cook.
Yeah.
And Mad, what's his name? Brown, BSM Brown.
Oh, Claire Brown.
Claire? No, not
Yeah,
Claire.
yeah,
Was it Claire Brown?
yeah. His last name was Claire.
Yeah, Claire Brown.
Yeah,
I see Claire Brown. I would say after 3 years of being back in London in this job I'm in now,
yeah.
walking down the high street. I didn't say anything because I wasn't really a lover of him, but I remember going into Nigel Cook tried to get into my tower, and he thought I was asleep. But I was stood on top of the trap door because obviously we got the signal to say he was coming, and I wouldn't let him up. And anyway, he got up and all the rest of it type thing. And there was 4 of us going to get charged. Yeah. Was it a Lance Bombardier then? Yeah, it must have been, yeah. And 4 of us going to get charged. Well, bloody, I'm going to lose my stripe here. And all 4 of us walked in, and Claire Brown was smacking people. That was the way he was doing it.
Yeah.
He was smacking people, and all the rest of it. And there's somebody, I can't remember who was with us, but was it Paul Jones? Could have been Paul Jones. No, he wasn't in then, was he?
Yes.
Do you remember Joe?
Yeah.
Was he in then?
Yes, and he was always in the shit, so it was probably him.
Yeah, I think he smacked Claire Brown before Claire Brown could smack him. And I was in next, and Claire Brown was getting up off the floor. That was hilarious. Yeah.
You're right. It was a slow tour and quiet, but there was some funny things happened on it.
You see, when I came back from there, Maze Prison. No, didn't we do the maze when we were in Germany?
Yes.
Yeah. And then we arms plotted, didn't we? Didn't we? Yeah. Well, so I had a bit of a rush, sort of like 3 or 4 years really. So Lance Bond leadership course over to Canada. Lance Bond leadership course over to Belize. Came back from Belize, straight to Maze prison training. Over to the maze. Come back from the maze, and then did we do Canada again?
Wainwright.
I did do Wainwright, and then we done something else if I can remember, and then Then we arms plotted, and then Gulf War, obviously 1990 and all the rest of the type thing. As soon as I come back from the Gulf War, I'd only been in, must have been a month, and 4 Battery got tasked to go to South Armagh.
Yeah.
And I remember Charlie Chaplin coming into that little tea place that Billy Steele's wife Shirley used to do the teas and coffees in the hangar there, and we knew people were getting volunteered or had to volunteer. And I looked up at him, and he just shook his head to me, and he goes, "I'm sorry, Tony." He says, "You're off." And I'd just come back from the Gulf War. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And within 2 months, straight into South Armagh training. What a nightmare! I mean, a fantastic tour, but someone had to go, and it was me. I thought to myself, bloody hell, how am I going to do my bombardier leadership course? Do you know what I mean, type thing? And they classed that as my bombardier leadership course. That's 6 months, yeah. But yeah, so it was a bit of a downer, but I enjoyed that tour. I mean, I enjoyed that tour immensely, and people that stand out to me there on that tour be people like Kev Newlove. I mean, have you read his book on Facebook? Absolutely amazing.
I've
When he
read
puts
past,
his story
yeah,
up.
read parts of it, his
Oh,
diaries and that, yeah.
hilarious. Yeah, Andy Fuller. Andy Fuller was on my gunnery careers course. People like Chalky White, Jason Miller, all those sort of people. Again, characters, some mentors. I mean, Pete Sanford was there, who ended up being a BSM-3 battery anyway, didn't he? There was all sorts of people. Geordie Telfer, all these sort of people that were sort of old school sergeants, coming to their end as such, and they were in charge of, the Brummy Graham.
Graham, yeah.
Again came to Woolwich with us. He's in here in London, doing the same sort of job as me. Really, I enjoyed the South Armagh tour. It was a busy tour, type thing, and that really kept you on your toes. Glad it's all over. We don't want people going back there now, but you earned your money there.
Yeah.
Definitely earned your money there. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and then we came back from there, and then I got married. And sort of like, marriage in the army, it is different. It is different. It's completely different. Really got married, and then came back to Thorney Island, which was a fantastic place. I mean, come on, if that was a place to be in. Thorney Island was your best tour. A long way to go for a drink.
Yeah.
What would have been nice is if they had the battery bars of Germany in the batteries in a UK regiment.
Yeah.
Why we didn't have that is a shame. If we had those battery bars, but in a UK establishment, your regiment, but we never had it, did we?
Well, no, but I think in a good way for me that would have been a bad idea, because I lived in Gosport. I'd have never gone home.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, well, I lived in Gosport eventually, and that's one thing about Germany. That's one thing I suppose everybody must tell this story. It's the only place I know where you could go to where there's 13 or 14 bars on camp. Yeah, but everybody could still do their job the next day. Yeah, but I've known people, and I'm sure you have as well. I mean, we might have done it together. I don't know where you've gone into the Battery Bar on a Friday night, and you're still in the same clothes on Monday morning, and you give them a quick press, and you've gone back to work. Yeah. Again, doing that today is amazing. And when you tell like people in civilian life these sort of stories, where what do you mean you could go, after 5 or 6 pints you could go running? It's not a problem.
Yeah.
That's just do a mile and a half and flipping whatever minutes. You know what I mean? Put a pack on me back, and they just don't get it. They just don't get it. It's really really difficult. I mean, we'll go about transition into Civvy Street maybe later on, but the civilians, and I do class. I don't like being called a civilian. I prefer to be called ex-service or ex-veteran.
Yeah, I mean,
or veteran.
I'm not comfortable with the name veteran, believe it or not, because it.
Oh, okay. Why?
To me, it implies like World War II, old people. You know what I mean?
Okay, I can understand it. Yeah,
and that's the way
but
I
I don't
look
want
at
to be
it.
called.
I class a veteran as, the Lord and High type of thing, whereas ex-squaddies type of thing.
I see where you're coming from. Yeah, there's like a stigma, not a stigma as a bad stigma, but it's like an appointment.
Yeah.
You're now a veteran. Yeah. At the moment, we're still ex-services or we're ex-forces.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so then obviously ended up in Thorney Island, and then got me bombardier, and then got sent to Woolwich as a gunnery instructor. So that was interesting. That was good. So going full circle, really.
Yeah.
Bramcott had finished. There was no more junior leaders, I don't think, back in the 1990, 91, 92. I think they scrapped it. We're talking about Harrogate at the time and that sort of thing. But yeah, so I enjoyed Woolwich. It was really good, teaching sort of like, well, you were teaching men, because obviously straight away they had to be over 17 and a half, and you were teaching all sorts of ages. And a gentleman that comes to mind, and you might have seen him on Facebook, a guy called Dave Moore.
Yeah.
7 RHA guy. You know, he went to 4th Regiment, and then, you know, I said, look, I said, you wasted going here. I said, you're a fit lad. Why don't you go for 7? And he went for it, and he came out as a sergeant, you know, from 7 RHA. And he thanks me for it, you know. And it's nice to have people come up to you. Who did I see the other day in the HAC? Again, you might come across a guy called Goldsmith. Goldsmith. Right, I can't. You know, when you obviously know so many people in regiments, don't you? And I've swapped 1, 2, 3. I've had about 5 or 6 regiments in my time, which is unusual within the Royal Artillery because usually you stick throughout. I went up to the HAC, which is where I finished my career, and there was Darren Goldsmith, his name, and he looked at me, he goes, Tony Gilardi. I went, oh, don't know his name, but I recognised him. He goes, Goldsmith, got ya. And I said, did I not take you through training? And he goes, yeah. He says, you're my first mentor. And he said the word mentor. And I said, well, I wouldn't say I was a mentor. He goes, it was. He says, I came from this. And he says, and you mentored me on the guns, da 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 da. And I come across you a couple of times in the army, and says, look at me now. I'm a staff sergeant here at the HAC. And I said, well, I'm not going to take credit for it because obviously you've done it. And he said to me, he goes, no, you steered me the way. And I thought, you know, quite a nice thing to say. I was quite humble, but I was quite like, yeah, I was pleased, you know, type thing. Would you believe we had a little bit of a man hug because he was overwhelmed, and he actually told his wife, "This is the man I've been talking about." I thought, why have you been talking about me, and you haven't met me in the last 20 years, you know, type thing. And he goes, "No, this is the man. This is the man that started my career," and I was really quite touched with it. Do you know what I mean, type thing. And yeah, I still see him now and again up at. He's on live on Facebook, obviously. But yeah, so that was quite interesting. Going back there, where were we? So we've done at Woolwich. Dad spent 2 years at Woolwich, and then bloody hell, 4-7 Regiment decided to go air defence.
Yeah.
So there I was, and then all the CO came up, and you know, trying to recruit. Yeah, you'll be good as an air defender. Da 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 da. It's a little bit more money. Da 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 da. I thought, nah, I don't want to retrain. I want to stick to guns. And there's a gentleman called Did Ray who was with us at Woolwich. He said, why don't you join 4th? I said, well, they're in Germany. He goes, yeah. So I went back to the wife and said, look, do you want to go to Germany? And she goes, yeah, I'll go. So we joined 4th. And this is where it's quite funny. I ended up joining 5-2 battery that I went to Belize with, and they were the regiment I should have joined in the first place. So the wheels keep turning in the career. Well, I was ending up back where I started again.
Yeah.
So started in training, ended up training people. First tour I went abroad was Belize 5-2 battery, and I've ended up back with them. And you know, you see a few lads, and again, when I joined 3 battery, they were in Ireland. When I joined 5-2 battery, guess where they were? Bloody Ireland again. So there's me, this new force crew. All the batteries changed apart from a few people that I knew. And all this thinking, who's this force crew? Who's this force crew? Who's this force crew? I've got to try and prove myself and all this sort of thing again. And but we got on. Great battery. Unbelievable battery. Fit as anything. I mean, unbelievable people. And they're all from the northeast, which again, this is going to be quite funny. So we've got 5-2 battery, which is Yorkshire Gunners, yeah, purely Yorkshire Gunners, and they were all Yorkshire in there, apart from a few what they used to say infiltrators from people that used to come in. But the best thing about 4th Regiment was, and this is where 4th Regiment got it right. I don't know if another regiment can do this because maybe Scottish regiments could do it. So 9-7 battery. 3 battery, because 3 battery joined 2-9, 3-2-9 battery. So I knew Ian Brown there, and Danny was there, Danny Sanderson, and who's the footballer? What was his name up front?
Dean Blair.
Yeah, he was there, and 8 battery, and HQ battery. All those batteries. If you came from Sunderland, you went to 9-7 battery. If you were from Newcastle, you went to 8-8 battery. If you were from Hartlepool and all the rest of it type thing, you went to HQ. And each battery had their stigma type thing. So when you went down to the NAFI, because everybody was in the same football league then, you know, whatever the league is, Newcastle, Sunderland, and all the rest of it, it was amazing to see a bunch of people or a bunch of soldiers black and white, red and white, wearing a natural divide down the NAFI bar with no fighting, no, just complete banter. And at the end of the result, they were all happy together. Unbelievable for a regiment. They were unbelievable. They were so committed, competition-wise in battery, but never any trouble within the batteries. And the funny thing is that the NAFI was called the Essex Club. I just don't get it. Why did they they didn't want to change the name because they couldn't pick out of the batteries what they should call it, And so we joined 5-2 battery. They joined the obviously 4th Regiment, all in Thibby. So it was a lot of rivalry, but good rivalry. From best gun competitions to sporting competitions, and it was a very, very good, very better one, I would say. And it's really hard to put 3 battery into second place, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
I'd put 3 battery in first place than 5-2 battery, just because it was my first battery. But 5-2 battery is a close second, and 4th Regiment's a close. What I would say was better than 4-7, just as a regiment.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Everybody just got on so well. The sergeant's mess, the officers' mess. It was because it was good rivalry and competition. It was always there. We stayed there for a couple of years. Done another Canada tour, and then done Bosnia. Would you call it Bosnia then?
Yeah.
Or was it Kosovo? Bosnia. Bosnia was the first one. Great time in Bosnia. It's nice to be one of the first regiments there. First time I would say that anybody has gone to within the regiment, and we were under 2-6 Regiment then, 5-2 battery. So it wasn't 4th Regiment went, 5-2 went with 2-6. Yeah. And AS-90s, first guns being deployed and all the rest of it type thing. Whole new regime, new tactics with a gun going forward with recce now and all that sort of thing. Trying different things out. People on motorbikes, all the motorbikes came out for all the MT squadrons and all the rest of it. Lots of new kit, lots of new trials going on. And it was the first time where we got driven out there, met by the BC and says, "This is your home for the next 6 months. You have to make it what it is." No tents. It was an old wood building, wood factory, massive complex. And again, a regiment got together again and built things. We had no choice, type thing. And I learned a lot of lessons there. What I should have took over, what I didn't need to take over. It was 4 or 5 feet deep in snow. We didn't have the gear for it. Nobody knew.
Yeah.
So it was amazing, we were making the ranges. We were opening up Barmote Airfield, and all this sort of thing. Refugees talking different languages, the peacekeeping side of it, right eye opener for everyone. And I think if I talk to anyone in 5-2 battery, they really enjoyed that tour, Bosnia tour. It was good. Yeah, Barmote was ended up being the home for the Royal Artillery for a number of years, I think. Did you ever go?
Yeah, I did I did my first tour of Bosnia was with attached to 19 Regiment on Mount Igman, so we went out with a light one.
Oh right, well that was the UN tour, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
but we changed multinational brigade halfway through, and then it became S4 and stabilisation force and stuff like that.
We done the first S4 tour, I think, and you guys were out. Come across a guy called Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve Kerr. Well, Steve Kerr he was on my GCC. Now, Steve Kerr was my junior regimental sergeant major in Bramcote.
Well, a year later, a guy called Chris Kerr was the junior regimental sergeant major.
Yeah, really weird.
And he went
really
off for
weird.
7.
No, I thought he would have gone all the way, Stevie Kerr, but he left at major, didn't get his colonel. Very, very surprised. Very surprised. Top bloke on the GCC, but just didn't get it. Didn't get it.
It's not for everyone at the top end, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's not. No. So what happened after Bosnia? Came back straight to bloody Canada again. And when we came back from Canada, got the call. No, we didn't go to Canada. Did we go to Canada? How far was Kosovo after Bosnia?
Kosovo was 2000. No. It was
No, I've missed it out. So after Bosnia, before Bosnia or after Bosnia, I've missed out something, and I can't remember what year it was. Brandon got ill. Kosovo, Bosnia. Yeah, after Bosnia. No, that's right. So I got the call in Bosnia. I got the call in Bosnia before we were going back.
Kosovo as well. Lads were going to Kosovo while I was at Larkill, so that was 2000.
Right, yeah. So Bosnia, we were due to go back, and we were on our way back. And I got a call from my wife to say that my son was ill. Brandon was poorly. And I said, well, I'll be back in so many hours. And we got back, and I was still in uniform, and we found lumps all over his head, type thing. So he's digressing a little bit from the army, but I think it's a major story of what families maybe could go through, in the army. In Germany, medical support was okay, but it was sparse. And we were all to go on holiday, on leave anyway, type thing, after the Bosnia tour. I said, no, this isn't right. And she was waiting for a blood test. And I don't know if you know the story, do you, about my son?
No.
No, okay. So you jumped in the car, drove all the way back to Zeebrugge, caught the ferry over to Felixstowe, drove into Ipswich, only 10 minutes away, and doctors saw and the rest of it, and within half an hour being back in the UK, he was diagnosed with childhood leukemia.
Oh.
And all I could think of, would you believe, was Gary bloody Lineker, because he's the only person that came into my mind about his child having leukemia all those years ago. So still in uniform, drove up to Cambridge Hospital, and basically we were in Cambridge Hospital for months on end. Phoned up the BSM, who was Tom Appleton.
Wow.
Yeah, Tom Appleton was a BSM 5.2 battery. And he says, take as much time as you want and we'll get it sorted. Had a phone call with the CO and the RSM. And basically, I left the regiment and they posted me to the Army Careers Information Office in Cambridge. Obviously, went through all the tests and rigmarole with Brandon and Boy and all the rest of it. And it weren't until he was 2.5, then 3.5. There was nothing more they could do. We lost him. He passed away. Don't mind saying it. So I split the family up a little bit. There was a big hatchet come out of nowhere and chopped us in two more than anything. And it changed then, and we know it was to change. And I said to Bruce, well, look, we need to fix this. We'd either get away from here, keep out of the UK because the families were a bit top heavy on top of us and all the rest of it. I said, shall we go back to Germany? And she agreed. She goes, yeah, let's get out of it. And off we went. Went back to Germany. And this is where the army, when the army get it wrong, they get it wrong. But when they get it right, they get it right. So we got to Germany. Housing officer's waiting for her. Oh, this is your house. So I'm not moving into that house. And he goes, why not? I said, that's the house we left from. And he goes, yeah, what's the problem? So I took him to one side. I said, that's because that's the house where my son was diagnosed with leukemia and I've just lost my son. And the families officer went, shit. He goes, give me 30 minutes. In 30 minutes, they found us a different house. Because there's no way I was letting my wife come over to go into the same house. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, shit.
Yeah, 4 or 5 doors up the road, and we were all sorted, and off we went. And we finally got back to Germany. 3 weeks later, back to 5.2 battery, whoosh, off to Canada again. And basically, the senior NCO just messed up in Canada big time. A couple of swingers, a couple, not one, but a couple, which you're allowed to do because it's training. Anyway, so I ended up taking over the bloody gun. Not my decision, but someone within the battery made that decision. Anyway, this certain senior NCO I found out was spreading a few rumours about me. Another senior NCO has come up to me and says, "Is this what you've been saying to me, Tony?" I went, "Hang on, let's get this straight." So I had to get all the senior NCOs together and say, "Right, all these rumours stop now. I have not said anything." I says, "You know me, you know me, and you know me, and you know me. Stop listening to rumours." And I'm not going to go through the rumours because it would be too much to put out there. Anyway, all sorted, done and dusted. Went to where'd we go? Went to Kosovo. Kosovo, all singing, all dancing. Got on the trains to do the exercise for Kosovo. And this is with 4th Regiment now. So poor old 5.2 Barry had come back and gone back out again, but to Kosovo. Very well trained and all the rest of it. And GCC came up, and there was 4 or 5 people. I mean, I weren't really bothered. If I got it, I got it. And there was rumours going round and all the rest of it. And there was 2 people in our regiment, a guy called Scouse Gerard, who's just got his major in the TA, in Ipswich, would you believe? And so it all goes back to Ipswich. And then there was me and a couple of others. Scouts had retrained from OPs to ARO, BRO. He'd done a lot of training where I just carried on with the guns. And basically, I got it and he didn't. And I think we were really good friends, but it upset the apple cart, type thing. And he never really spoke to me again after that. It's not, I've not done anything wrong. You know what I mean? They picked. The trouble is, I knew I was going on GCC when I was going to Kosovo. And then the results came out 2 days later, and I had to wait on that train all the way before I could say anything. Do you know what I mean? Type thing.
Yeah.
So it didn't go down too well with a couple of people, but they needed to man up and say, well, you haven't got picked, you haven't got picked. I have, you haven't. Let's move on. Do you know what I mean, Tom? It's nothing what I've done, and it's because we're all the same caliber. We've all got the same, what are they called,
Yes.
CRs and
Yeah.
all the rest of it. Yeah. So came back from Kosovo, and then came to Larkhill and done GCC. Not really talk much on GCC. Had a good time. Very weird being on a course for a year with 10 other staff or 19 other staff sergeants, type thing. We all got sergeant major, which is very unusual, but very good because we didn't want one person to not get it, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So we all got sergeant major. We all knew that when the results come out. So that was a nice thing to have in the bag. I got posted. We didn't want to go back to Germany, and I don't know what it is, but for gun number one, I really took to safety. I loved safety. I loved being able to plot, find out where things were going, and all the rest of it. And it was the one thing I was really good at on them. And they posted me, would you believe it, a bloody 3-4 battery.
Yeah.
I got posted the bloody OP regiment, OP battery.
Yeah. C Troop. Yeah.
Sorry, C Troop. Had a great time, brilliant.
Well, that's where we met each other again many years later. Yeah.
Yeah, all there type thing, and seeing all different people I'd seen before, and then Gary Williams turns up. There's another card from 3 battery.
Yeah.
Type thing, and what's his name as well? Dave. Oh, I can't think of his name. He was 5-2 battery, but yeah, and had a great time. Went over to B Troop, got heavily into the tug of war, won loads and loads of trophies. With the tug of war, as you know.
Yeah.
So full circle, I'm there again. 3-4 battery, firing rounds every day, training and all the rest of it. Going out and doing safety every day, helping everybody out. Got put in charge of Sandown races, sorted all that out. And I'm the only sergeant major that organised Sandown races, and I still hold the record now, where there was no horses. The racing got cancelled, but everybody was on their way because it was ice on the tracks or whatever. So I managed to get several tellies in each tent, and they watched racing from Wolverhampton, but done the bets there, and everybody got Ming Mongs as they should do, and nobody ever knew any different type thing, because you imagine the regiments coming from everywhere. We organised all of that, and that was all that, and then I was going really strong in 3-4 battery, and then all of a sudden, I'd done me 2 years, and the BSM appointment comes up. CEO calls me into his office. He says, "Where would you like to go?" I don't mind. And this was the year 2000. So Afghanistan, Iraq was all kicking off again. People were getting deployed, weren't they?
That was a bit later than that, yeah. But so we had Iraq in 2003.
Yeah. So 2000, was it 2000? No, but 2000. What was 2000? And something kicked off in 2000 or just after.
The towers went down.
Yeah, I remember the towers
9/11.
going down. Yeah, remember watching that in the dimmy. Yeah, but people got to wherever they were going. Yeah, he went after Bin Laden, didn't he? So it was yeah.
Afghan had started, but we hadn't deployed her out there yet. The Yanks were there, but we weren't there yet.
That's right. But 3-4 battery were losing people left, right, and centre to go back to their regiments and all the rest of the type thing. The CEO calls me into his office and he says, "Where do you want to go? You've got BSM." So, thank you very much. I said, "Anywhere, sir, but Germany." He goes, right." He says, "The only appointment left," he says, "because people are deploying now, is 3rd RHA HQ battery," which most of you, is that where you went back?
Yeah. I went to D battery, so in 2003 we deployed to Iraq.
Yeah. So that's to Iraq. So I was going to go to Iraq with HQ battery 3rd RHA, and he had the CO 3rd RHA on the phone, and I goes, "I can't, sir." And he goes, "What do you mean you can't?" I says, "The wife won't go." And I said, "And I know that when a BSM has to go, his wife has to go with him, especially if you're going to war. And he goes, right. And he goes, did you hear whatever the CO's name was? Did you hear that, John, Jeff, whatever type thing? He goes, yeah. He goes, can you just thank that sergeant? I remember him hearing it. He says, can you thank that sergeant major for being considerate, yeah, and realising what the problem would be if he came over without, his wife. And he goes, yeah. So the CO goes, puts the phone down, and he goes, thank you very much, sergeant major, for that. He says, but he says, and don't go to the papers with that. And we had a laugh about it. So no, I won't, sir. I says, because I know what it's like. You have to have that backup. Anyway, so that was all done and dusted, and I ended up being the BSM of 3-4 battery, which isn't a good thing when you just come from TSM because it's too familiarisation. So my first day as BSM, I got the whole battery formed up and all the rest of it. I said, look, guys, gents, lasses, ladies, whatever. I says, I'm now no longer the TSM. I am now your battery sergeant major. There's no more familiarisation. There's no more this. There's no more that. Blah, blah, blah. And put them straight. Done the same thing with the senior NCOs. And I had a whale of a time until me and the wife going through a bad patch. And obviously divorce happened and all the rest of it. But there was an incident that happened where, do you know Dave Lamb?
Yeah.
He got a shell shoved up the old barrel there type thing and he got stuck. And so we waited and all the rest to see if he was going to cook off or whatever type thing, or nothing. And we put the gun into its clamps and drove it slowly to an area where it'd be safe, and we were going to let it go all up, let it out. But we had to secure the area around Larkill, every road going in it. And that's 1.5 feet. Anyway, so I sent all the lads out, radios and all the rest of it. So I went home. What could I do? Do you know what I mean? Type thing. Everybody's on radio contact. The CP was set up. Anyway, do you remember that big fat sergeant major who used to run the Rangers, Smig?
Yeah.
He only crept in with his bloody Range Rover through a road and reported that someone had let him through the cordon. So the following day, the Range Lieutenant Colonel, whoever he was, or Major, basically called me in and I got my arse ripped out. So I got put on a 3-month warning order for it. Yeah. This was the RSM, and for an RSM to only be in charge of 2 BSMs and not on a fighting regiment, he was first RHA. Most didn't get first RHA RSM. Someone else got it. He was pissed off, whatever type thing. Just didn't get on. Didn't get on with any of the BSMs. And bipolar, I call it. Used to flick off a switch like that type thing. It's great. And then, so someone, a swinger in 3-4 battery. And it wasn't the gun position's fault. It was the safety officer. 22-year-old young lady from YOs and all the rest of it type thing, fully trained, read a compass wrong, 20 mil out, swinger. And my 3-month warning order had just finished. Yeah, just finished. And got sent over to the RSM. Says, why weren't you deployed? I says, don't need to deploy. I says, as you know, if it's a CPA course, the CPA course will dictate who they want. 3 guns, CP, blah, blah. BSM never deploys apart from bombard and whatever the other thing was. I said, what's the sense of me deploying? I said, I won't get no work done in the office. I said, then you'll be having to go at me, like that. Blah, blah, blah. But anyway, CO wants to see you. Walked into the CO's office and sacked me there and then on the spot.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. I went, sorry? And he goes, I'm removing you from post. You're not allowed to go to the sergeant's mess. Type thing. I want to pack your bags because the wife had left me. Pack your quarter, and you'll get told what regiment you're going to. Get out.
Fucking hell.
I went, fine. Put my stick under my arm, walked out. The RSM calls. The RSM walks to his office, and walked out. Quite emotional. Do you know what I mean? Type thing.
Yeah.
Blamed it all on me. And the RSM goes, BSM Gilardi in my office. Excuse my French. I went, BSM? I ain't your BSM no more. I'm not the regiment's BSM anymore. I said, I'm just a TSM. Go fuck yourself. And I just walked back to the office, cleared everything. I've got a TSM in called Tom Cruise from 29. I says, right, Tom. So you're taking over as BSM for the next couple of weeks until I find someone. He goes, what do you mean? So I've been sacked. Anyway, so went back to the court, packed up a court and off I went, and drove back to Ipswich with mum and dad. And mum and dad goes, what are you doing here? Type thing. They didn't really understand, you know what I mean, type thing. But I'm not going to explain it. I got a phone call back from Tom Cruise saying the battery wants to dine you out. He says, however, the regiment has banned a dine out for you. You're not allowed to be dined out. but the battery, the soldiers want to dine you out. And I said, look, Tom, I'm not coming back there to get anybody, any of you, in trouble whatsoever. And they turn around and says, no, I know you're not, Tony. He says, but if you could be in the Legion at Larkhill that Saturday at 2:00, blah, blah, blah. He says, there might be a few people in there. I went, okay then. So I walked in there, I think 6:00 at night or whatever, expecting a few people. I drove all the way down there, trying to keep out of people's eyes. Whole battery on parade in the Legion, 164 soldiers.
Wow.
Every single one of them, all the officers, BC, everybody. And I said to him, you lot, Hal Cross was doing the DJ. Do you remember Hal Cross?
Yeah.
And we were having a laugh and all that. And I said, you lot, loads of presentations and all the rest of that. I mean, that was really emotional. And the young lady come up to me, the officer, because I hadn't seen her. And she goes, I'm ever so sorry. I said, don't be sorry. I said, it was training. You done what is right. PAM 19 states that it's training. You shouldn't get done for it, and I hope you don't. So don't worry about it. Hope you have a successful career, blah, 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 blah. Left there and ended up in 100 Regiment. And loads of people phoned me up. But when you're blacklisted in the army, you're blacklisted.
Yeah.
So almost like people that were all over me, like, because 3-4 back can do a lot of things. I just lost them all. Nobody would speak to me in a sense. Just got blacklisted. So I went to 307 battery, and they were expecting a first RHA, because they're RHA sort of like connected. They were expecting a first RHA sergeant major, and I said, "Hang on." I said, "Took the BC into one side and the what they call it, the captain that was there and all the rest, all TA." I said, look, guys, I said, I know you want a first RHA soldier, says type thing. I says, but they're not all on be all. I says, you give me 3 months. If you don't like what I do in this battery within 3 months, I said, I'll move on gladly. And you can write what report onto me. And they said, oh, we've heard you've been sacked. I says, I have been sacked as BSM. I said, if you want the truth, you'll hear it from me, not from rumours that you've heard it first RHA, blah, 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 blah. And they went, okay. Within that 3 months, I got called back. Do you remember Brigadier Brearley?
The name rings a bell, yeah.
Well, Brigadier Brearley was the CRA in Bulford. And basically, they got called into his office, and we sorted it all out. And there's nothing he could do, he said. And in the end, 2 weeks later, the CO of 14 Regiment sacked for having an affair with someone in 40 Field Regiment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was gone by then. So there I was in 307 battery now, up in Nottingham, living in a nice flat the army give you, not in the sergeant's mess anymore, that sort of thing. That was really nice. And turned 3-7 battery round from only having 2 guns out on deployment to 6 guns.
That's good going for a TA unit, yeah.
They said, oh, but we've got to have 6 people per gun. I said, no, you haven't. So why you got to have 6? So you only need 4 to fire a gun. Oh, but we've never done that before. Well, we are this weekend. And off we went. And I beated them over Larkhill, shoot and scoot with a light gun. And brilliant. And they're the people that come back to me now. You turned it round and rushed it. So I spent 2 years there. And I remember a guy coming up to me from, what do they call it? Man and Records. Can't remember his name, some officer. And he goes, I've been sent by my boss. And he was a lieutenant colonel himself. I said, yeah. And he goes, your 2 years is up in 4 or 5 months' time. You can go anywhere you want. I went, sorry. He goes, you can go anywhere you want. I said, what do you mean? Where's this come from? And he goes, well, all I can say is that it's a favour from the top.
Wow.
So someone obviously said something, wrongly done by, couldn't retract. And I couldn't get obviously RSM or anything because my time was up. So I said, right, I'll HAC RQMS. And they said, well, in fact, that is coming up, but he wants to extend. And I said, well, that's what I want. So poor old Reg Perrin, Reg Perrin? Reg Perrin left and I took over. I've done my RQMS course and ended up at the HAC.
Which is where a lot of people want to go.
They do. It's all changed now. It's all FTRS and half of it's not even Royal Artillery, the BQMS, the QM is not Royal Artillery. I don't know what they got there now. The rest of them are, it's still based under RA. But so there I am working in the HAC as RQ. I'm working with people from Hereford. So it took 22 years to work with the best.
Yeah.
I'm working with the best TA unit, the most intelligent TA unit. Everything's not an option. They are a bit crazy though. Do you remember what's the signals stuff that came in?
Bowman.
Yeah. So there's nothing after Bowman, is it? Bowman, yeah. So I walked up to this room on a Tuesday night up in the HAC. And the HAC you've been before, have you?
I've never physically been there, but I know the place.
Well, you'd have to come down to London. I'll take you up there. So basically, it's the only TA unit that owns a castle. So it's inside a castle. So I walked into this room. There's bowman kit everywhere, all set up. So this is nice, type thing. So I went down and checked. So I said to the signal sergeant, TA guy, I said, we need to FTRS guy. So we need to check the bowman kit. And he goes, what bowman kit? I said, the bowman kit on the books. He said, there isn't no bowman kit on the books, sir. I said, I've just been upstairs last week. I said, bloody bowman kit everywhere. I said, who checks that? He says, oh, that's not on the books. I said, what do you mean it's not on the books? He goes, the HAC bought that themselves. I went, what do you mean you bought it yourselves? So this was all new to me. I said, right, explain to me. So I had to get the HAC guy to explain to me that basically they couldn't get no bowman kit through the system because regiments were having it. But because we were a TA unit, you can buy it if you want to. Nobody can afford to do it. So the HAC went out and bought £1.2 million worth of bowman kit so they could train their soldiers on bowmen themselves.
I mean, I'd heard they were quite well off. Didn't they dig the car park underneath the fields or something?
Yeah, that's all there. Yeah, underneath. Yeah, that's still there. And I said, well, this is all well and good. I says, but when a kit breaks, don't come for me for new bowman kit, cables. He goes, well, why not? I said, because it's not on the books. I says, did you get an accessories package with it, or a warranty type thing? And he goes, no, it doesn't work like that. I said, I can't go to the stores, my major stores in the army, on Unicom and say, can I have this, this, and this? Well, no, because you haven't got any bowmen. Well, I have actually, it was hilarious. And they're the sort of things they would do. Like all the guns were normal guns, and they decided to chrome the breeches and chrome the front because it looked better. It's just amazing regiment, absolutely amazing regiment. Obviously, coming from a teaching background, teaching at Woolwich and all that sort of type thing. When you teach the TA guys at HAC, you have to get it right because they're so bloody intelligent that they know it before you've done it.
Yeah.
Very, very good regiment. I left there in 2008 when not really a recession, but it was like the job situation was a bit dodgy type thing in 2008. I went into health and safety, worked at Earl's Court, that sort of thing. Couple of contacts within the HAC got me health and safety courses. Done a bit of facility management, and I got captain in the TA in the HAC as the QM. Only lasted 6 months because I got this job here where I am now at the Worshipful Company of Barbers, which is a livery company here in the City of London, and so I gave that up, and I've been here for 15 years. And the position here is events, facilities, and the main position is the Beadle. So I'm a Beadle of the Worshipful Company of Barbers. Now, I'm not really a historian, but the Beadle is a policeman, would you believe? It used to police the parish from a French word called Beadle. So I came here after a year of being in the job. I ended up being the secretary of the Beadles Guild, like a PMC. And then we've got 89 members. I've done secretary for 9 years, became chairman of the Beadles Guild. I'm a freeman of the City of London. So I've got a nice certificate on the wall, which is all sort of like very nice. And I do events nearly, 3 or 4 times a week, organise the events, do the facilities of the building, and do all the ceremonial. Bit of toastmastering within the company and around the City of London. Work and liaise a lot with the Guildhall here in London. And meet some really nice people. You meet a lot of servicemen.
Yeah.
The city is full of service women and service men. And a person I met a long time ago, must have been 8, only been in the job about 2 years, was Louise. Remember Louise? She's a tug of war lady. No. She represented England.
There wasn't many ladies doing tug of war when I was doing it.
In 3-4 battery.
Yeah, there was none on the team when I was there. It was literally the year afterwards.
Well, there was a lady there called Louise Marie Gibbo, and she enjoyed her tug of war so much, she went all the way through, and she ended up representing the army and then representing England, and they got a bronze medal in the World Cup, representing the army representing England. That was the first time that had happened for ladies, let alone men. saw her on Facebook, and she is now. I mean, she was a nightmare in the army. Always in trouble, drink, always, always. She is now. I'm not going to say the name of the company, but she's one of the head honchos in facility management letting company here in London, with a portfolio of I don't know 800, 900 million,
Jesus.
and she's running 200 million of that.
Wow.
And she was a gunner in the Royal Artillery. Amazing lady. How she's got there and got that far and she said, just by using the army skills. It's fascinating. And she still calls me sir on Facebook. Yes, BSM. Yes, sir. Hilarious. Yeah,
You had a bit of a good time of it, especially towards the end of it.
definitely. My career was flying. I mean, once I got GCC, I can see. If I look back at it now, I mostly would have done captain, but I don't think I would have done it any further.
Yeah.
I don't think I could have seen myself going to Afghanistan, Iraq, and all the rest of it type thing on 2 tours, 3 tours, 4 tours, purely because of me little girl. We've got a daughter, and that's it really. So I don't think I would have gone. I believe in fate, and I believe things happen for a reason. And I've got a lovely wife now who's used to be married to someone in the Royal Artillery, and we've been friends for years. We were friends. We were in Larkhill. There was nothing between us in Larkhill whatsoever. It was all just friends, and just through Facebook and things like that, we've met up, and we're all married now. All the kids get on. She's working with me here in London. I would say I'm the boss, but I don't think I am.
It doesn't work that way.
No, and we work together here brilliantly. We've bought a house again. We bought a house in Wales. Didn't think I'd go back to Wales as a soldier, but I'm living in the middle of nowhere in Wales. I love the isolation. Being in the middle of nowhere. It's all black outside. Good night's sleep, all that sort of thing. It was meant to be, and fate. Yeah. So I do believe that. I'm having a fantastic time. I think the transition, what I was on about, sorry, in the podcast earlier, having those 2 years in 307 battery and those 2 years in the HAC steered me into civilian life quite easily. I've seen a lot of people, a lot of sergeant majors coming into the Beadle roles where they've left because they just can't hack it, type thing. But not hack it in a way that they can't hack it physically, or I think it's mentally.
Yeah.
They've not gradually got. I don't know. I think from my era, I don't know about now, but from my era, I think you do need more gently moving into the civilian world, not just coming out 22 years, sergeant major, next job, Civvy Street. I think it's I think people think it's too easy, and I don't think I had it easy, but I don't think it is. From what I've seen of people that are coming into the jobs here, they've just left after 6 months, just can't hack it. Not hack it as in
No, I know exactly what you mean.
it's just not for them mentally and all the rest of it, dealing with people.
It's a shock to the system. It doesn't matter what job you're going into. I don't think,
It is.
from people who I've spoke to doing this and experienced myself, I don't think there's enough time given to help people do the resettlement and stuff like that. And especially when you get to Sergeant Major, you haven't got the time because you've got that appointment and you've got to move.
And I've met a lieutenant colonel here who's starting up a new lieutenant commander, sorry, for the Navy, who started up. Well, the Army has started this, but it's tri-service now, where any time in your career, even as sergeant major, your family and yourself can take 6 to 8 months, maybe a year out if you wish, and it doesn't affect your career. So you go into civilian life, go and get a civilian job. Is it you? Is it not? Or you come back in, and they do that not just for the serviceman or servicewoman, but for the family as well.
That's good. I kind of did something myself like that, if you remember, years back. I had a year off.
Yeah.
When I didn't come back off leave.
Did you enjoy it?
Well, I got married, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one thing that I only learnt this about 2 years after leaving the army, and it all goes back again to Ipswich, I'm afraid to say. So I live on a road, or my mum and dad, sorry, my dad now, mum's passed, is on a road called Congreve Road. Yeah, now I didn't even learn this. In ballistics in GCC. I learned 2 years after being out of the army that Lord Congreve was the person that invented the artillery shell. Now, isn't that bizarre? Me living on Congreve Road, and Lord Congreve invented the artillery shell.
It's a fate.
Is that bizarre?
It's the fate.
Fate type thing. Yeah. So I think that's me, Frankie. I mean, what do you think? Is there anything else?
No, that's brilliant. You give everything that anyone's going to want to listen to, really. And to be honest, I'm enthralled. The last part there about what happened at Larkin and stuff like that, I didn't know nothing about that.
And the thing is with the artillery, it's the biggest unit or biggest corps in the army, but you know a lot of people in it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing in it. Even though you keep yourselves to yourself, yeah, it was a big shock to me. It came out of nowhere, with your 3 month but I don't look back on it. It happened.
Yeah.
It happened for a reason. If that didn't happen, I mostly wouldn't be in the job I'm in now, and I wouldn't have met the lovely wife I've got now either.
And you seem happy. You seem very happy.
Oh, absolutely immense. Yeah, I've got 5 years left. I'll be retired. I'll be in my house in Wales, travelling the world again, hopefully, and see what it all takes and where it all leads.
Brilliant. Well, I'll just like to end this podcast now by saying thank you to Tony for his story. It's been absolutely brilliant, entertaining, and I know people are going to want to listen to this. Well, thanks for getting this far. I hope you enjoyed the podcast and Tony's story. I think that it shows sometimes life can give you a right kick in the bollocks, but if you keep at it and keep plodding along, it gets better, which I think it has for Tony, and he's in a good place now. So if you did like this episode, please leave a comment on Spotify or wherever you listen to this episode. Please consider buying me a coffee at the link in the show notes or the link on Facebook. It just helps to pay for the costs of running a podcast each month. Thanks very much, and bye-bye now.